So at the end of every trip I do a clip on safety. Well, I left it a bit late this time. I'm already at the airport in Melbourne, but I thought I'd run out real quick and give my opinion on what I think about safety in Melbourne. So for the most part, of course, I was walking around and feeling quite safe everywhere I went. However, I was warned by the locals that there is in fact crime in the city. So there were occasions where I would cling on my bag a little bit more than usual, but there was never a point where I felt that I was in physical harm. One thing that was interesting to me was the amount of homeless people. I'm not quite used to that living in Asia. And then the streets were not that clean in the CBD of Melbourne. So that was also a little bit strange for me to encounter that. As for the rest of the city, it's beautiful and clean and just a really, really nice city to visit. A nice and great thing about the city is they have free public transportation inside the CBD of the city, which is great because trying to understand how the public transportation works and how to pay for it is actually quite complicated. You have to get yourself a Mikey travel card. Smoking is another interesting thing. They have very strict rules and laws in Melbourne about smoking. You cannot smoke inside, and there are designated spots where you can smoke. I think you can smoke on rooftop bars and outside of establishments where there are ashtrays, but if you're a smoker, you might want to find out about that to avoid a big fine. Drinking is another one. You can't walk around with an open container or a beer bottle, which we are very spoiled in Asia. We can just walk around and drink on the streets. You can't do that in Melbourne. You have to drink inside an establishment. Sydney has strange rules about drinking. You know, they really keep a tab on how much you've had to drink, and they might even stop you from buying alcohol. Melbourne is not that strict. However, I did go out one night and I bought 2 Jägermeisters and 2 gins, and we had to drink the Jägermeister before we could have the gin. So it's 1 drink per person, I guess. If you did buy a data SIM card, best you go back to the server or the carrier that you bought it from to top up if you need it. I ran to 7-Eleven, which I thought was a very convenient way to do it, but I ended up paying $30 for 2 gigs, which was completely unnecessary. And when I went to the carrier that I was using, which was Vodafone, I paid $7 also for 2 gigs. So it's much better to go and top it up at your carrier that you bought the card from. Overall, I thought the city was quite safe. I mean, I walk alone a lot, day and night time. The biggest problem I had with Melbourne was actually my domestic flight, Tiger Air. They have all kinds of strange little things that you have to pay extra for that's not that upfront. So if you can, avoid flying Tiger Air. If you can't, make sure that you check in online. I didn't do that. I thought I will just check my bag when I got to the airport, and I ended up spending $100 for a 15-kilogram bag. Now on the way back, I made sure that I checked in online, and I only ended up spending 18, as in 1-8, for a 20-kilogram bag. So checking in at the airport cost me basically $90 more. So make sure that you have your ducks in a row before you go and check in if you're flying Tiger Air.